Hi, this is Andy Nathan, and if you're a real estate investor in Chicago, I want to talk today about one of your biggest enemies in the market, and that is rental turnovers and the surprising costs of doing a rental turnover and how it can destroy your cash flow, eat your ROI. So before you hire a contractor, before Thanksgiving, before the New Year's, whenever you're looking to hire somebody, let's help you. So I figured we take a little Turkey Day week and just spend some time talking about rental turnovers. So I'm looking here at, I have a whiteboard, I didn't realize how far away it is. So I'm going to move this a little bit closer. So my apologies for the delay here, but I just want to make sure this is visible. But essentially, I want to break down some of the challenges that investors are facing when they're dealing with rental turnover today. So let's talk about this. What are some of the biggest challenges? Now, one, the funniest part about all this is most investors think that rental turnovers will generally cost, $2,000-$3,000 to work. The reality is it's closer to $4,500 to maybe $10,000, even sometimes $11,000, $12,000 for a rental turnover. And that varies based on the type of unit you have, what type of amenities you're providing. But keep in mind, like if you think you're going to do a rental turnover for $2,000, you're probably fooling yourself, because a lot of times what will happen is a lot of times investors will say, okay, well, if we get a security deposit or we get a move-in fee for, let's say, $1,000 to $2,000, that move-in fee should probably cover our turnover. No, not at all. This is why having a lot of long-term tenants a lot of times is great. And this is the reason why a lot of tenants, people don't understand why landlords aren't always updating things, because it costs a lot of money when you have to update every single time. Now, if you're doing a short-term rental, the economics on this are completely different. So keep in mind, you're probably not going to be spending that much every single time on a turnover. Someone stays for a week, you don't spend $4,500. But if you're doing anything like a long-term, like you have a Section 8 tenant, you have someone who's coming, you have a bunch of college students in a dorm scenario, or they're sharing a house, that's going to be a lot more than you think it's going to be. So what we're going to see here today is what are the different things, what are the breakdowns of how we figure out those costs. So let's take a look at the biggest costs that we're going to see. One is going to be paint. Two is going to be flooring. Then you have plumbing, electrical, and what I'm just going to call safety. Safety could be anything from your fire extinguishers, or having a carbon monoxide monitor, something that will help make sure you have safety. But you're going to have a lot of those different types of small safety issues that you're going to take care of, especially as a landlord, because you don't want carbon monoxide poisoning or something weird like that. So it's very important that you have a breakdown of how this works. So Chicago investors, here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to take a look at is painting. So I'm going to assume you have a 2-bedroom. So if you're a Chicago investor, by the way, just to be very clear, your average Chicago rental is about $1,800. That means they're generally talking probably about a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit. So, I mean, obviously this is going to change, but this is our assumption that you're living somewhere in Chicago. You have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, $1,800 unit. Now, keep in mind also, if you're doing a move-in fee, which, by the way, they better not get rid of move-in fees in Chicago. I'm against that. I already did a video on that. We're not going to talk about that today. I can share the link to that. But let's say your move-in fee, which has to be less than 50%, would be, let's just say $800, just to have a nice round number. So keep in mind, you could do less than 50%. I just say we keep it a little bit around 40% just to be safe. So we put $800 for a move-in fee. That's a non-refundable move-in fee, by the way, because as you'll see, there's a lot of costs here. So how's that going to work in terms of painting? Well, if you're painting a 2-bedroom, that means you have the 2 bedrooms. You also have the 1-bath. You probably have a living room. There might be a kitchen. So do we have to paint all 5 of those rooms? Now, if we're doing it room by room, I know a lot of times our guys are going to charge between $500 to $600. So if we just had to do one room, like, or just the 2 bedrooms, it'll probably be about $1,000, maybe let's just say $1,200 to be safe. So because that includes materials and labor. So $1,200. But if we're doing the entire room, we could probably get a little bit of a discount. Again, assuming a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, you're talking maybe about $2,000 for the entire unit. In addition to that, let's say you want to start taking a look at flooring. Now, flooring can be a wide variety because are you doing LVP? Do you have hardwood floors and you want to do sand and stain? Are you looking to do tile? Knowing what type of flooring tremendously varies this. But we're going to assume, by the way, that this 2 bedroom, 1 bath, by the way, is 1,000 square feet. So if we assume 1,000 square feet, we're probably not going to need to replace the entire flooring every single time. Very rarely does all of the flooring go out at once because, most flooring could last 10, 20 years. So if it's done right. Now, LVP has a shorter lifespan than hardwood, but even hardwood, you're going to have to do something. So let's say you have LVP and you want to replace LVP. Well, maybe your tile in your kitchens and your bathroom don't need to be replaced. So maybe you're talking about 600, 700 square feet of LVP. Your average LVP, it's going to vary again here. I'm going to say about $5 a square foot. Labor and materials, that could be less, could be more, depending upon what type of material you choose. I know some of my landlords have chosen nicer, higher quality LVP, and it really makes a difference, especially depending upon the neighborhood that you're going to go into if you want to give it a better look. So let's say it's 600 square feet of LVP, $5 a square foot. You're talking about, give it roughly $3,000. By the way, that's normally some people's entire budget. And we're talking about that being $3,000 here. In addition to that, you have patching, repairing, you have plumbing, you have electrical. I mean, this could run the gamut from having to replace a toilet, which could be a few $100s, let's just say $300, all the way up to, hey, you have to replace the shower because we've had that happen before where there's leaks in the shower. Tenant leaves and they have leaks and they did something to it that you don't want to know, and now you have to replace the shower because it's all leaking down into another unit. Well, that could be $4,000 to $5,000 right there. So again, this has a wide range. It really depends on what's happening. If you're just replacing some faucets because you want to replace the faucets, that's gonna be a few $100. That's gonna be easy. If you're looking to do a little bit more, then obviously it'll cost more. Electrical, same thing. Do you have GFCI outlets in everywhere? So if you don't have a GFCI outlet in your kitchen or your bathroom and you need to replace that, I'll probably run you about $200. If you find out you have cloth wiring in your building and it's something like that, you could be running into thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So let's just say, who knows? Final thing is safety. So what do we talk about when we mean by safety? Well, let's say, again, I'm going to use carbon monoxide or fire detector or smoke alarm. Those type of things generally are about $150 to $200 per unit. I'm going to say $150 on the low end just to be safe. You also have, if you have depending upon the size, you're going to need multiples. So keep in mind a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,000 square feet. You're probably going to need 1 carbon monoxide detector, probably near the kitchen, 1 smoke detector near the kitchen, and then probably a second one as well somewhere else in the unit. So you're talking maybe about $500 there for safety items. What happens if some of the outlets need to be replaced? What happens if some of the covers need to be replaced? There are a lot of different things you want to just make sure nothing's sticking out. Kids can't hurt themselves. These are the safety issues. So just definitely take a look. Again, I can't give you a full price on stuff without knowing exactly what it is. So I'm going to put question mark here. But even if you take the basic pricing here, yeah, you're $4,200, $4,500, $4,700, $4,950. So I said $4,950. So I said $4,500 all the way up to $11,000. There you go. I'm not lying to you. So the real problem is that when we go through a list like this, I'm giving you a broad detail of what can be, what might happen. It's not exactly telling you exactly 100%, hey, this is 100% what you have to know. There are going to be surprises. And also there's going to be differences in what happens between you and everyone else. So don't skip through the safety walk. Make sure you take a look, understand what's going on in the property. So in terms of everything going on here, I've given a pretty good overview. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything before I'm finished. Key things here when you're going through your walkthrough: check your floors, check your painting, check the plumbing, check the electrical, make sure it looks good. By the way, if you see something that's not right for plumbing or electrical, don't do it yourself, because you don't want to make the problem worse. If there's no safety valve near the toilet, probably something to do, especially with tenants. You want to have as many safety valves as possible, so you don't have to worry about, like, hey, what happens if there's a problem with the toilet? You turn off the water just to the toilet instead of turning it off to the entire unit. So the more times you can do stuff like that, the better. And then just budget for reality, not wishful thinking. That's the key here, because investors don't get cash flow just because of the fact that they're hoping to get lucky. They get cash flow because they're planning ahead. So if you need someone who could help you, walk you through that process and budget accordingly, I'd love to be able to help you. This is Andy Nathan here at Creative Smart Contractors. You can schedule a free consultation with us at creativesmartcontractors.com. You can find the information in the description. And with that said, looking to find out how we could help you with your next rental turnover. Also, by the way, please like this, comment, shout it out, share it with other people. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Have a great day and a better week. And yeah, let's turn those properties over. Get some new tenants.